It might be the last time you applaud tonight. I've been thinking a little bit about themes as I've been sitting here, and I think the theme, the title of my presentation is Leadership for Life, and I like to think of that as like a gang sign, that if I were going to join a street gang, it would be the leadership gang. But I think really the fundamental principle behind that is understanding that for me, leadership has been influenced throughout my life by relationships and continues to be today. So this is a picture of me, in case it wasn't apparent, and if you've seen my older daughter, Anna, you know that that's actually what she looks like right now. There's an urban legend in my family about a time when I barely spoke. And they were a little bit concerned, actually, that I might have some speech delays or some problems. It's hard to imagine that if you've gotten to know me at all today. But in my earliest days, when I didn't say much, I used to say to my family, sit there, play with this. And always my language was very directive and a little bit bossy. And you can even see from this picture that I used to move my toy telephone underneath the actual telephone. For those of you that are younger, you won't know that a phone used to hang on the wall and had a cord. But that was the place where you had to stand and be on the telephone. And even at an early age, I sort of knew that I had to take care of administrative functions in addition to bossing my family around. But I really had the blessing of having family that cultivated my leadership skills and also kept me humble, to play back on that theme. I spent a lot of my childhood getting report cards that had lovely comments on them like, a joy to have in class, a bit chatty at times, or Tory sometimes has difficulty getting along with her classmates, because I was even then practicing my directive and leadership skills, my bossy skills. I was fortunate to have participated in lots of leadership activities when I was in school, not because I was a particularly good leader, but because I was willing, and teachers would ask me if I wanted to do something, and I would often take advantage of it. When I arrived in college, I was in a bigger setting. I went to a college in Ohio called Mount Union, and I was really afraid to get involved for a long time. And then there was this tall, handsome football player with red hair who encouraged me to run for our student government at the end of our freshman year. And this photo shows me at the beginning of our senior year when I was elected as the president of our student senate. And what that experience taught me was how to relate to my peers. It put me in a role where I was able to interface with our college trustees, with our college administrators. I served on a search committee for the college president. These are all experiences that I had no idea how they would impact me later in life, but they taught me to build relationships peer-to-peer and also a little bit above my pay grade. And I think that has served me well ever since. I like to look at this picture too because I see how thin and young I look. But the relationships that served me well at that time had to do with friends, classmates, professors, teachers. All of those things prepared me for my first professional job when I was in my early 20s. And I love to show this logo, particularly in this room today, because there's some people here who I worked with. This was my first real job. And it was a new program that no one really had any idea what we were going to do about it and how we were going to do it. And we could cultivate it out of anything. And by the way, I was in charge of the program, but not in charge of the people that worked there, which was a great lesson in how to do collaborative team building, teamwork, and leading people from various locations without really any training or skills for it. And what I learned was how to work with some challenging personalities at times. I learned some negative things about leaders who maybe didn't always uphold their end of the commitments that they had made, but I also made relationships and friendships that I would have until this day. And I wouldn't have had a lot of the opportunities in my career if it hadn't been for this great start. I have been blessed with lots of jobs. My family says sometimes they're not sure that I'm actually able to hold down one job long enough. That's why I keep having more. But eventually, my work took me to, like all of us in this room, the Chautauqua Leadership Network in 2010. And it's hard to tell from this picture because it's an actual photograph, not a digital image. But there is such a diversity in ages and experience from my CLN class. And I like to think of it was a unique year. CLN had been one way, and it was just a 1 year that things were a little bit different. And we had such a unique group. And I came in thinking I had a lot of things about life and leadership figured out. But thanks to people who were far beyond my years of experience, people who had lived through difficult situations, people who were in the same age that I was, but maybe they were in a different place in their life in terms of raising children. I learned a ton, and I still maintain relationships with my classmates. And I think that those CLN classmates have taught me a lot about the leadership style that I seek to cultivate. And then eventually I got to a place where I could be a little bit crazy. So I worked for the United Way, and this picture is an example of what it's like to work with people that you truly respect and people that you see how you want to behave in their eyes, and you see reflected back to you the things that you help to make them more confident in. You help each other through trouble. This is when I had the idea that we should use fish as the theme for one of our events. And they said, okay, we'll make it officially the best event ever. But again, I think sometimes you can learn from the relationships that you have with people that, I don't like to say the word supervise, but the people that you work with and the people that look up to you can help to teach you a lot about the skills that you want. I knew that at one time I wanted to be a certain type of boss. And when I got to the United Way and I had my first opportunity to be the boss, I wasn't always the boss I wanted to grow into. And so I had to learn that over time. And I was fortunate to have people that were forgiving and allowed me to keep cultivating and perfecting that. And then my current stop on the journey, because the journey is certainly not over for me, I have lots more to learn. I like this picture because I'm standing in the rain, and I'm doing that and having my picture taken on this particular day for about the 100th time. And I did that because the people that I work with at the Community Foundation told me to. And what I've learned now about leadership is it's a lot less about what you instruct others to do, not like that little girl who used to tell her family to sit there and play with this. It's more about listening to what they would tell you to do, offering soft suggestions, maybe redirecting or offering course corrections in a constructive way. But where it leads you is to a place where people will do their very best and try to bring out the best in you also. And I think that's what relationships can do for all of us in our leadership journey.